Before we begin, I just want to congratulate Harvey and his wife Georgina on the birth of their new baby boy. Harvey gave us just what we needed, another him.
Finally, I'd like to thank Harvey Weinstein. The Punisher, that's his nickname. The Punisher, yes.
My friends at Miramax for making this film, especially Harvey. And
Harvey, thank you for killing whoever you had to kill to get me up here today.
and to Harvey Weinstein, the tough guy on the playground with the biggest heart. Thank you for saying you'd do anything for your friends, and you always do. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey Weinstein.
I want to thank Harvey and Bob Weinstein.
The bomber Weinstein, my godfather.
I would like to thank Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey, thank you to Harvey.
Harvey Weinstein for his commitment.
And to Harvey Weinstein and everyone at Miramax.
Harvey and Bob Weinstein.
My agent, Kevin Uvain, and God, Harvey Weinstein, the Punisher. Old Testament, I guess.
Today we'll be talking about the film industry's biggest weirdo, Harvey Weinstein. I'm Rugburn.
And I'm Pickled Landon.
And this is Tombstone Tourist. Today we're talking about Harvey Weinstein and just the power that he had in the industry and the hold he had over people and how he used that to kind of get his way with so many women in the industry. He was founder of one of the largest independent studios called Miramax Entertainment. He would use his power and influence to kind of give people an option. You get blackballed if you choose to not do what I say, or if you want to be a star, I can make you a star and me and you do our thing. He did birth a lot of stars and traumatized a lot of people and would just use his power and influence to just take advantage of everyone. And he actually did this so often that it sparked the Me Too movement.
Survivors, united, will never be divided.
Where people would come out and they'd be like, I had also been assaulted by Harvey Weinstein and I have too. And it just kind of created this momentum of everyone coming out and being like, oh my God, he's a horrible person.
It's like the power that he carried kind of did him in at the end because it was so prolific, the actions that he was doing, that it just kind of came to bite him in the butt there at the end.
And because of that, I would like to point out that a lot of other stars, or even not stars, more people have come out, are more willing to speak up, kind of, is one thing. I mean, it's a double-edged sword on that too, though. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are people getting falsely accused, but there are also people that actually were assaulted and are feeling more empowered to actually speak up against horrible things that happened to them.
And with people with this type of power, you rarely ever see convictions or anything like that happen, but this is one of those rare instances where it did occur. He ended up getting brought to New York to face charges on 5 counts, and he ends up getting convicted on 2 of them. Those counts were sexual assault in the 1st degree and rape in the 3rd degree, and he was convicted to 23 years in prison.
So do you think that they hit him so hard with the 23 years because of how many people had accused him of doing stuff to them?
Well, at the end of the day, there was over 100 accusations, but they only really convicted him on what they could. If you're asking my personal opinion, I think they could have got more out of the first conviction, but they kind of like just got what they could, and that's why they end up taking him to court again the second time in Los Angeles to try to back end the charges to make sure that he would spend the rest of his life his natural life in prison. Maybe it's not a life sentence, but they know that at least he's not going to live through it.
They know that when they add those big numbers, like anything over 20 at him, or even in the teens, that it's like he might not make it out of this realistically. And once you start getting into the 30 plus years, he's definitely not seeing the light of day. Even with good behavior and stuff like that, it's very much more likely that he just rots and the last thing he sees is his jail cell.
Rightfully so. And in order to cap the jar on this and seal it in, they bring him up on 11 more counts of rape. And this is to be done in California. So they extradite him to California. Once they finally get to kind of going through with the court and everything, there's 4 victims. Out of those 4 victims, only one of them's going to actually secure a conviction, right? One of them, they drop all the charges. They end up with 7 charges out of the 11. And out of that, they can only convict on 3. Those 3 charges are sexual penetration with a foreign object, rape, and forced oral copulation. And with this, they were able to add another 16 years on top of the 23, pushing him up to a total of 39. On top of his already advanced age, he would be over 100 years old, and you have to serve them consecutively. If he lives through the New York one, then he's going to get flown to California where he's going to serve the other 16. They won't run concurrent.
When you're starting to deal with 3 digits of people that are accusing you of something, that's a lot of smoke for there to be no fire. Even if not all of the cases are true, you got to admit that there has to be a large amount that are. And I would argue that possibly all, I mean, it's a situation where he kind of has to be held accountable. I mean, he's gotten away with it for so long. It's almost like it's a win, but it's not a total win because, I mean, the man is already almost done with his whole natural life.
Yeah, he lived into his 70s having done all this. One could argue that he essentially got away with it. I would like to think that the punishment here is at least like the minimum they can do. But at the end of the day, they called it the casting couch culture. You could tell that this was accepted amongst people in the industry. And they kind of like referred to this dude as God. It wasn't until like the perspective on everything changed when you got like the buildup of enough people to say like, no, this dude did something to me.
When you hear someone else say it, maybe you get a little more brave on speaking up against sexual assault. For a lot of people, that's a really hard thing for them to talk about and kind of express themselves or come clean about because they feel shame. They feel like dirty or guilty. It's just something that when it happens, if it happens, you need to speak up as soon as possible so that way that person can pay as quickly as possible and to the full extent. Because the more time, unfortunately, that goes away from those instances, the harder it is to get a conviction on those kinds of crimes because you lack DNA, you lack all this other kinds of evidence. You can't allow this to kind of be swept under the rug. No matter what shame you feel, how dirty you feel, it's just one of those things where it's like you're just best off kind of saying it. And, I mean, unfortunately, it came a little late for him because you got to think about it. He probably should have been convicted decades ago at this point.
His power in this industry gave him the ability to fight back against these allegations even right when they first happened. He was hiring private journalists to gather information on his accusers. He was asking for publicists to help him kind of figure out how to lessen this impact on the media.
He even reached out to Hillary's publicist at one point, if I'm not mistaken, which just kind of shows the reach that this man had. And you can see where that would lead to pressure to women to follow through with what he was wanting them to do. If someone is that powerful and he's like, you're gonna do this, you're kind of nervous about what's gonna happen if you don't follow through with that. You might have a positive thing happen if you follow through with it as far as your career path goes, but if you don't, like, you lose your career and you're kind of traumatized because a man was trying to sexually assault you.
And it's that threat of either you do this or you don't. Nobody knows how much they've put into their career up to that point, and then to be given this ultimatum of either you do said act A or you could just kiss your whole career goodbye.
Could you imagine? You put your life, your blood, your sweat, your tears into this career because the entertainment industry is not easy to make it in. And then you're going to go ahead and have a man be like, I'll take that all away. All the hundreds of hours you've worked, all the classes you've taken, I don't care. You're going to do this. It's very understandable why it would be considered rape. There's no pretty way to paint this. It's a predatory behavior that he had, and he was just preying on these people and their want for an industry and their desires and playing with people's emotions.
Yeah, and he ruined over 100 lives. Some of the testimony is hard to listen to because you can tell they sincerely believe that their lives would have been different if they had never met Harvey Weinstein.
He just sounds disgusting. I know there was a specific soundbite where he says, do you really want to throw your friendship away with me for 5 minutes?
I promise you I won't do anything.
I know, but yesterday was too much for me.
I will never do another thing to you. 5 minutes. Don't ruin your friendship with me for 5 minutes.
I know, but it's kind of like, it's too much for me. I can't.
Please, you're making a big scene here. Please.
But I want to leave.
Fine.
That's just disgusting. Can you imagine being put in that position and you feel like you have no choice and all your power is taken away from you? You know what I mean? Hopefully he never sees the light of day and he just spends the rest of his waking life in a jail cell, max security prison. That'd be pretty nice, or the best outcome for the situation. You can never repair the emotional damage caused to these women.
You can try to do right with the time that's left, his time left, which isn't very much, and give him some of what he deserves.
Maybe possible monetary compensation to some of the victims. It won't get rid of the trauma, but a little bit of extra money is always nice. No one can ever complain about some more money, for being put through awful things.
And he's got plenty of it. That's one thing I think they should take from him. If he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, might as well just divvy up that money.
Creeps like this need to be put away. People need to speak up immediately against sexual assault. Don't hold it in. If someone's being a weirdo to you, you got to go ahead and tell somebody, reach out to law enforcement, family member, something.
It's the best way to relieve the pressure, at least to start to.
Did you have any closing statements on this one?
No, I think he summed it up really well.
Let us know down in the comments below what you guys think of this case. Would you like us to break down his earlier cases leading up to this current case, the LA case and the New York case? What future cases do you want us to do? And most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're really trying to break that 1,000 subscribers. I'm Rugburn.
I'm Pickled Landon.
And this is Tombstone Tourist.